All right, welcome to NFL Nexus. We all know the Dallas Cowboys are standing at a massive crossroads right now. Their entire 2026 season, and maybe the next few years, really comes down to the moves they make right now. So, for a little while, let's just push aside all the rumors, all the hot takes you hear on TV. We are going to pull back the curtain and get into the real master plan, the actual blueprint that McClay has put together to turn last year's massive disappointment into a real deal championship contender. Okay, so before we build, we gotta look at why things broke. And let's be totally honest with each other here. The 2025 season was a complete and utter failure. I mean, for a franchise that basically measures its own self-worth in Lombardi trophies, missing the playoffs isn't just a down year, it's a five-alarm fire. This isn't just some historical footnote. This is the painful, raw moment that forced a total rethink of how they build this team. Every single move we're about to talk about, it was all born from the ashes of that season. So that brings us to the big one, the core question of this whole explainer. What is the master plan? How does this team, a team that feels like it's been stuck in neutral for way too long, actually engineer a legitimate turnaround? And let me tell you, it's not about one splashy signing or some quick fix trade. No, this is a deep, multi-layered strategy, and we're about to break it down piece by piece. By the way, if this is the kind of deep dive NFL content you love, make sure you hit that subscribe button for NFL Nexus. And hey, drop a comment below right now with your initial thoughts on the Cowboys offseason. I'd love to see what you're thinking. And hey, a real quick note, if you're looking for a fantastic way to support what we do here, we've actually created some really cool NFL-themed coloring books. Seriously, they're great for kids, for grandkids, or, let's be honest, for you after a stressful Sunday of football. You can grab one using the QR code on your screen or just click the link down in the description. Your support is what helps us keep making these deep dives. Okay, now let's get back to the Cowboys blueprint. All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to start at the beginning, the off-season crossroads, and really diagnose the problems. Then we'll get inside the head of the architect himself, McClay, and understand his core philosophy. After that, we'll see how free agency, the Christian Parker hire, and the draft all fit together like puzzle pieces to build a new defensive identity. And of course, we're going to wrap it all up by asking the biggest question of all. Will any of this actually work? So let's kick things off with Section 1, the off-season crossroads. You can't build a skyscraper on a cracked foundation, right? Well, before the Cowboys can even dream about 2026, they have to take a long, hard look in the mirror and admit just how deep those cracks really are. We're talking about the glaring weaknesses that sent their 2025 season right off the rails. Let's just lay it all out there. The defense last year wasn't just shaky. It was a legitimate liability. I mean, we're talking about gaping holes at every single level. You need linebackers, you need pass rushers off the edge, you need safeties, and these aren't just little things you can scheme around. No, in today's pass-happy NFL, if you're weak in all three of those spots, you are basically handing opposing offenses free yards. But, and this is a huge but, there is a massive silver lining to all this. 2 first-round draft picks. In the world of team building, folks, that is not just ammunition. That is some serious franchise-altering firepower to inject a massive dose of young, cheap, high-end talent. So that's the problem. Now for the solution, or at least the guy in charge of finding it. Section 2 is all about the man orchestrating this whole rebuild, McClay. And you have to understand, his approach is so much more than just go get the best players. He has a very specific, incredibly disciplined philosophy that guides every single move. And honestly, it runs completely counter to how a lot of other teams operate. This quote right here from McClay, this is everything. This is the Rosetta Stone to understanding the entire Cowboy strategy. The right kind of guys. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like every GM at every single press conference, right? But for McClay, this isn't a cliche. This is his mission statement. It's a total rejection of the idea that you can just collect a bunch of all-pros and expect to win a Super Bowl. It's about finding guys that fit the culture, fit the scheme, and, just as important, fit the checkbook. So let's actually break that down. What does a right kind of guy even look like? Well, first, there's talent. Okay, that's the cover charge. You gotta have it to even get in the door. But then you have character, making sure he's a plus in the locker room. And then there's scheme versatility. Oh, man, this one is huge. It's the difference between a guy who can only do one thing and a guy who can move all over the field like a chess piece. It's the Micah Parsons effect, right? And finally, financial viability. Because one bad, bloated contract can absolutely cripple your roster for years. It's this whole package that they're looking for, not just a flashy stat line. And finding these guys isn't just McClay locked in a dark room watching film by himself. It's a full-on intelligence gathering operation.
It starts with the salary cap guys making sure the numbers work, but then the entire coaching staff gets involved. And they're not just watching tape, they're on the phone, they're calling guys they coached with 10 years ago who coached this player in college. They're asking the real questions, What's this guy really like when things get tough? How does he study? They're getting all this intel that never ever shows up on a spreadsheet. Only then, after all that, do they come together and make a final call. Okay, section 3. Let's talk about how this whole philosophy actually looks in the real world, starting with free agency. For a lot of teams, free agency is like Christmas morning. You go out and get all the shiny new toys you can. But for the Cowboys under McClay? Nah. It's more like setting the chessboard for the moves you really want to make in April.
Check this out, because this is so key to how they operate. Free agency and the draft are not two separate events for Dallas. They're two sides of the same coin. The goal in free agency is to use it like a scalpel. Go plug your most obvious holes with solid, reliable starters. And what that does is it gives you complete freedom in the draft to stick to the BPA philosophy, best player available. It stops you from panicking. It means you don't have to reach for a linebacker in the first round just because you need one, even if your scouts have a third-round grade on him. You signed a veteran in March, so you can just sit back, relax, and take the best football player on your board, period. It is a total game changer.
Let's look at a perfect real-world case study here, the Javonte Williams signing. Okay, so picture this. Before free agency, everyone and their brother is screaming from the rooftops, the Cowboys have to draft a running back high. The media pressure is huge. But then they quietly go out and sign a proven, productive veteran like Javonte Williams. And just like that, poof, all the pressure vanishes. That glaring need is filled. So now when they're on the clock in the draft, they don't have to take a running back. They are totally free to take that stud cornerback who unexpectedly fell into their lap. See how that works? It's all about creating options.
All right, let's shift gears for section 4. Because, sometimes the single biggest move you make in an offseason doesn't involve a player at all. It's about the guy with the headset. After moving on from Matt Eberflus, the Cowboys brought in Christian Parker to be their new defensive coordinator. And folks, I'm telling you, this hire might just be the linchpin of their entire 2026 season. And get this, here's the best part. Where did they find him? They went out and poached him directly from the Philadelphia Eagles, their #1 rival. You just gotta love the gamesmanship there. I mean, it is a brilliant 2-for-1 move. Not only do you get this incredibly bright, highly respected young coach to run your defense, but you also weaken your biggest enemy and steal all their secrets at the same time. That is some 4D chess right there in the NFC East. And just listen to what Will McClay had to say about him. Nobody said anything negative. Do you have any idea how unbelievably rare that is in the NFL? This is a league built on egos and gossip. For a young coach to be so universally respected, that speaks absolute volumes. And that phrase, wise beyond his years, that's not just GM speak. That's a guy like McClay basically telling the world, we think we just found the next great defensive mind in this league.
But praise from the front office is one thing. The real proof is what the players who played for him have to say. And this quote from Cooper DeJean, wow, I don't think I'd be the player I am without him. That is the absolute gold standard for a coaching endorsement. It tells you that Christian Parker isn't just some clipboard guy drawing X's and O's. He's a teacher. He's a mentor. He's a guy who actively makes his players better. And for a Cowboys defense that's about to get a whole lot younger, that skill is absolutely priceless. So moving on to section 5, let's connect all these dots. Why is the Christian Parker hire so pivotal? It's because this isn't just about getting a new coach. It's about forging a completely new defensive identity. By bringing in a guy whose expertise is coaching defensive backs, the Cowboys are basically screaming from the rooftops that their new philosophy is to build this defense from the back and forward. I mean, just look back at the struggles from 2025. Yeah, it was bad pretty much all over, but the secondary, man, that was the Achilles heel of the entire team. It was a constant source of explosive plays, busted coverages, and just the kind of back-breaking mistakes that lose you football games. So what do the Cowboys do? They perform surgery. They don't just get a generic defensive coach. They go out and hire the secondary guru. It's like having a leaky pipe in your house and calling the best plumber in the entire state to fix it. A direct, targeted solution to their biggest problem. So what's Parker's job description? Basically, to transform this defense from a weakness into a weapon. His mandate is to fix the secondary, for sure. But it goes deeper. He's expected to play a massive role in developing all the new, young talent they're about to bring in. And I love this point from McClay about his awareness of the front end and the back end. Parker gets that it's all connected. Sticky coverage on the back end gives the pass rush an extra half second to get home. A ferocious pass rush makes a DB's job 10 times easier. He's here to get all 11 guys playing on a string as one cohesive unit. All right, here we go, the final section. We've laid out the philosophy, we've gone through the free agency plan, the draft strategy, the huge coaching hire. We've looked at all the individual pieces of the puzzle. So now it's time to put it all together and ask the million-dollar question. The question that I know every single Cowboys fan watching is asking themselves right now. Is any of this actually going to work?
So let's recap the entire blueprint one last time, just to see it all together. Step 1, a laser focus on signing the right kind of guys. Step 2, use free agency strategically to set up the draft, not to win the March press conference. Step 3, cash in those 2 first-round picks on the best football players available, no matter the position. Step 4, hand the keys of the defense over to your new stud coordinator, Christian Parker. And Step 5, don't just acquire young talent, actually develop it. You can see how it all flows together, right? One step logically leads to the next.
You know, when you lay it all out like that, on paper, this blueprint is rock solid. It's smart, it's disciplined, it's patient. It's the exact opposite of the emotional, reactionary moves that get so many other teams into trouble. It's a steady, methodical build. But, and in the NFL, there's always a but. Football games are not won on a whiteboard. So that leaves us all with the one giant, looming question that hangs over this entire franchise and its fan base. And that is the ultimate question that I want to leave you with today. What do you think? Do you believe in this blueprint? Is there a flaw in the logic that we're missing? Or is this finally the right path to get this team back to a Super Bowl? I want to know what you think. Drop your answer down in the comments section below. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive here on NFL Nexus. If you found this breakdown valuable, do me a favor and hit that like button. And of course, make sure you're subscribed for more in-depth NFL analysis just like this. We'll see you next time.